Welcome to B-Rate YouTube, the cheaper version. And of course, everyone's probably wondering, why is there a second video this week? Well, there was one more topic that I had covered earlier this week, and I was like, I have got to cover this. Mainly because I was watching CNN, and of course, a lot of people are like, radio guy watches CNN. Well, yeah, I listen to a variety of different ideologies so I can more easily make fun of them. That's the fun part. That's really the main reason why I do it. Um, but I was watching CNN and they were covering this Olympian athlete. I'm just sitting there thinking and coming to her defense, and I'm sitting here like, why is this a story? I don't get it. What's going on? So, anyways, I made my roundabouts and yeah, I found out who it was. It was essentially people like Charlie Kirk. I kind of call him the wannabe Glenn Beck, mainly because every time I click on a Charlie Kirk video, there's always like a whiteboard behind him with stuff written on it. And, you know, the whiteboard is very classic. It's a little bit more advanced, because like I said, Glenn Beck in the mid 2000s, he always had a chalkboard. So we're making a little bit more advanced. Of course, then a lot of people are probably like, well, why would you have, why do you need a whiteboard? Why do you have to have that? Well, if you put some stuff on there, like, you smear shit on it, literally, it makes you look smarter. It's like me wearing glasses. If I take my glasses off, everyone would think I'm an idiot. And so this is a way, again, it's imaging, right? I mean, I'm kind of doing bad right now. I ought to go find me a whiteboard. But the point is, Charlie Kirk and his great, vast wisdom relayed to us from his whiteboard basically said that this Olympian athlete, she is weak, she's selfish, and therefore un-American. And I was like, that's not an argument. Now, conservatives won't really register this, but I know it really bugs them. If you call conservatives, like, if you pull the ism card, and everybody knows my opinion on that, which is to say, like, that also is not an argument. And that's one thing I'll say for a lot of people that kind of comment on politics and talk about politics. They do a great job of picking out things that really don't add anything to the discussion. There's a lot of people that do that. It really is. And there's some of them that are really good at it. And so Charlie Kirk does the un-American bit. That's often from the conservative side. We need to cut defense spending. Maybe we shouldn't send soldiers overseas to play in the sand. That's all un-American. Okay. On the left, right, if you start, if you're Republican, if you're anyway supporting Trump, you're a Nazi, you are a fascist, you are a racist, you are a sexist. It's like, oh my God. To me, it's the same thing. Whether you're going to say that somebody's some kind of ism, or if you're going to call somebody un-American, it's not an argument. It's more of a, I'm going to call you an ism, or I'm going to call you an un-American, or really, here's the real kicker. You do both. Call somebody an ism and call them un-American. I think you're an un-American Nazi. I'm not really sure how they'd react to that. They would probably be like scratching their head on that one. You could really mix it up, throw people off. But, somebody, let's say, you go up and you tell somebody they're an un-American Nazi, it's a drop the mic. It's a game over, man, game over. It's not an argument. It isn't. I don't care if you're progressive or conservative. Saying that claiming some sort of ism or claiming that someone is un-American is just not an argument. It's really not, Now, what is Radio Guy not saying? Okay, I'm not saying that some sort of ism doesn't happen, right? I'm not saying that, someone doesn't take an action that can be deemed un-American, but, realistically, let's have like legit points, because now all of a sudden Charlie Kirk can't handle some Russians chewing on gold. Personally, it probably wasn't even like realistic gold to begin with. Um, that's not hinting towards anything whatsoever. They really should just be thankful we could even afford that kind of crap. Anyways, Charlie Kirk is upset by the Russians, chewing on gold. Okay. When Donald Trump came into office in 2016, it was more of an attitude of, well, if we can work with the Russians, let's try and do that. And that was now what conservatives hate. Now they're back to hating the Russians again. What happened to the Trump love? I don't know. Because I was like, where's that? Because the media's tried really hard to paint this picture of like, Putin peeing in Trump's mouth for years. And I'm just sitting here going, okay, I think there's like some actual legit stories out there. And the Olympian athlete story is just not one. But I'll give Charlie Kirk the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to take his un-American logic and start to apply it to other things. This is what I love to do. It's my favorite thing to do. I'll take something you think and start to apply it in other areas. And at some point, it's not going to make any sense. And I'm just going to be like, see, that's why I think your ideology is retarded. But in the case of someone being un-American, well, there was a U.S. vet who came back, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, something like that. I guess maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And, he had served in Iraq and Afghanistan for about 16 years. Now, I don't even know how that's possible, considering that the Iraq War, according to some people, was over in 2011. But only we would find a way to end the same war twice. So here we go again, 2021. We're going to end Iraq for a second time. Thanks, Biden. I don't really know how to handle that one. That one's got me there. But hey, at least the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, he was the guy that actually saw the end of the first Iraq War back in 2011. So actually, it's only fitting that we ended under him again. He was also on the board of Raytheon. And no, this video isn't brought to you by Raytheon. But my point is that this veteran came back, and he said the first few years he was back, he couldn't handle listening to the national anthem. Now, not being able to listen to a song sounds pretty weak to me. I don't what you can't what the I mean, unless you're deaf, then obviously there's a legit reason as to you literally cannot hear the song. But I don't know. That sounds pretty weak to me. So I don't know. I guess that guy counts as un-American according to Charlie Kirk. I mean, again, it's not my thinking. Okay, I think the thinking's retarded, but I'm taking that logic and applying it in other instances. So I'm assuming that U.S. soldiers who come back without a limb, they're weak, I guess, is the message. They're un-American. Regardless of how many years they were there, if they come back and they can't even listen to the goddamn national anthem, or God forbid, they start kneeling during the national anthem, I don't know. That sounds pretty un-American to me. Whatever. In the end, I throw Charlie Kirk into the like Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, just that whole umbrella falls under the Ann Coulter vibe. And a lot of people are probably like, who the hell are all these people? Well, these are people that will pretty much say the most extreme SHIT they can think of, because in the end, all they're doing it is for the money. That's it. That's really all it is. I mean, literally, Ann Coulter wrote a book called In Trump We Trust. And then 5 minutes later, because he hasn't built enough of his cheese grater wall, right? She's upset and writes another book where, Trump has betrayed the established, has betrayed conservatives. You have to understand, there are some people that comment on politics, that comment on current events, and really the bottom line for them is just money. That's it. Because that's really what sells. There was one progressive I had listened to recently where his argument was is that what really sells to people is stupidity. Like the dumber you are, the better you do. And I disagree with this. I don't agree with that. I think that the more extreme you are, the more extreme you act, that's what sells. And yeah, in that extremism, it can come pretty stupid, pretty retarded when some of us kind of look at you and go, well, I mean, calling somebody un American to me is the same as like calling somebody some sort of ism. And as I'll kind of wrap up this video, I'm not saying that there isn't some sort of ism in society. I'm not over here being like, the Klan doesn't exist. No, it very well does exist. And I'm not saying there really aren't un Americans. I mean, yeah, there are people that are un American. Those are probably the ones that aren't neo enough, which I guess I'd fall into that category because I don't really care for people like George W. Bush. But that's hey, there's a lot of people that want to follow the Bushes into the abyss, and hey, more power to them. But I'll leave it at that. There's my response to coming across a retarded segment, in my opinion, when it comes to the Olympian athlete that she, was un-American. What un-American? I mean, well, just call her racist while you're at it, which personally wouldn't make so much sense. But or call her sexist or something. I mean, it's literally the same thing. It's like, can we have some actual points? Okay, can we stop with the drop the mic stuff? But sadly, like I said, that's really what it all comes down to: money. That's it. That's the bottom line. It's how extreme you can be. I mean, I could be pretty extreme. I could think of some really radical shit, but I don't, because I want people to see the reality of the world. That's the whole reason why I do all of this anyways, is because there's a lot of people that can't keep up with all this crap and they don't know what's all going on. And so you have to be able to call people out on their BS. So I don't know. Maybe soldiers who come back who can't listen to the national anthem are un-American. Again, not my opinion, Charlie Kirk's. And that, my friends, has been the Un-American American segment on B-Rate Politics with Radio Guy. Thanks again, and have a good weekend.